Good evening, Naga. First,
Thank you, Sandeep.
for us, you are Shomie's avatar.
Wow. So thank you very much.
So, as you are Shomie's avatar, we would love you to have you share your days in Cambridge. That's what our whole story today is. And we would just take 2 minutes to do a wrap up from the last week, if that's okay with you, because
Yeah, please.
that's how we always start.
Yeah.
So what we do is we go back to the happyteacher.in. By the way, this may be something interesting for you to think of tagging along to your CoSchool, because we are an open source, not for profit. So we are more than happy to offer content or whatever happens at our end. So anyway you feel we can help, please feel free, because we are building perhaps a unique open source learning academy for India. That's what our whole idea is. So we meet every Saturday in Naga for about 45 minutes in this time. This time we thought was universally feasible for teachers in India, and to an extent, when we invite people from other countries, this is the best time we could compromise by bringing East and West together. We tried a lot of times, morning hours, evening hours, school time, without school time, but it just didn't work for some reason. But what we found is 5:30 p.m. has worked beautifully. So my co-host is Gurdeep.
Hi, Gurdeep.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
This week, Naga has been a huge harvest for us. So when I go to the blog archive for February, if you see, masterclass, we met last time. So we will see where we were. Reflections of masterclass. So we met last on 15th February now. Now, these are some questions in front of you. They came out from reading that chapter about mentors. So my question to you, now that you're live today, how much of yourself you attribute to mentoring?
I wrote in the book also, and I strongly feel that today what I am is because of my mentors.
That's a very short summary. I really appreciate that. And you also, I know you're a man of few words, but you're a man whose words are very powerful.
Oh, thank you.
So if you look back and you go back to your village days, where you talk of the teacher and what he gave you, and then you came to Vishakhapatnam and you again found someone, and every time you found someone, you tried to take something along. But there was a very interesting story about your mentor telling you, don't go into a partnership. Tell us how you felt and how you overcome such a situation when you feel that you got to use your heart and mind and mentor's leadership. And what is the conflict that happens inside you?
See, also there is a age and time that to be understood when this interaction happened. It was me and Raz were 25-year-olds, so very young, thinking that we can change the world, we can do anything and everything, that kind of spirit. But however, if you see someone who is learned and very wise, to whom we have approached for advice, who said, in your best interest, please don't do business together. And also said, it is all the time, if the business is success, you fight who should get more credit, and the business is failure, who should be blamed for. So in both the cases, the partnership is going to fail. So because you are childhood friends, and for you the relationship is important, why do you risk your relationship? That was the point he was coming from.
Lovely. So, you brought this question about relationship. And every time when we meet, I say a very small mantra: life is trust and relationship. And I think in this story, this whole what I call it axonym from my because it's my own creation. Life is trust and relationship. It kind of lives in your entire book.
Yeah.
How do you attribute this quality of trust and relationship when you go inside a classroom? Because you have been inside the classroom.
Yeah.
And you've also been a Shishya of Shomie, and you've been guru to so many teachers and people around. So, what is the key behind building this trust and relationship in a mentor's sphere?
So particularly inside classroom, I think it is a lot more easy. Um, as a teacher, your job is to inspire learning, and you need to be facilitator. It is not necessary you be the source of knowledge. Today in this age and time, even more that holds good. As facilitator of learning, as a teacher, primary job is to inspire learning. How learning can be inspired? Only when the child feels a connection with the teacher. Without that connection, the student is not get inspired. To have that connection, it is the simple thing is don't judge. Love that child. Every child should be equally important for a teacher who is getting 30% marks or 99% marks. Whose color or whose dress, nothing matters. That child is somebody's life. My job is to inspire learning in that child. The moment when you are so simple and end up seeing children with that simplicity and try to develop that connection, he or she is not that backbench middle seat, is not that roll number 25. It is a person. The moment when you approach with that mind and intent, automatically connection develops. That to their children, they easily get that vibe. So at that age, the vibe, the energy flow is very different. The moment when they see that connection, you are not there to judge them. Automatically, they get inspired by what you say. That's it.
Lovely. So, this is really the short story of mentorship, and I'm so happy we are reading today a chapter on Shomie being in Cambridge because I thought this was a wonderful chapter to have you with us. It's a very warm chapter. It's got a lot of Shomie's real life and how beautifully you have been a biographer of Shomie. So, all credit to you. So, Gurdeep, would you like to share the chapter with us?
Yes, sir, sharing.
Naga, would you like to read the chapter for us? Because I told you you are Shomie's avatar for us today.
So I am not so prepared, but I happy to read.
No, we'll both read. We'll do it partly. I mean, I'm happy to
Yeah, yeah,
read always. So I just
yeah,
thought if you were there, we would have that conversation post the chapter. And then we will leave a thought like we always do. So if you go to this blog, Happy Teachers, which we have created by the Teachers Academy, we always leave behind reflections every week. And if you see below the reflection, there's session recording also. So in case some
yeah,
teacher has missed, we respect every teacher. We don't expect the 207 people who have signed up for the webinar to come every week. It can't happen. So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
why this recording is made available. And what I really find is 25 to 30% have been very regular, which is fantastic, absolutely, which is a very high score from master class or learning point of view. With 25-30% being regular week after week, 52 weeks is not easy, Naga. I mean, for a teacher to be able to find time every Saturday at 5:30, it's hats off to
exactly.
them. I mean, that's their commitment of trust and relationship. So
Yeah,
this is what we do. And post we do this, then what we do is we tell them, okay, we've been around the whole year with you. Whichever session you feel like reflecting on, please do. And that's
yeah,
why if you look at this list, you see here reflection 15th Feb. After that, there have been so many reflections. So someone's
yeah,
writing about masterclass feedback or 24. Someone's writing about to copy or not to copy. Someone writes about Tom and Jerry. These are chapters from books we've read. So that's what
yeah,
we're really
yeah,
doing. So we are really building up first reading, second reflection, and third relationships. And that's the core of our entire Teacher Academy professional learning program. We are not concerned about assessments. We are not concerned about certification. We are just here for the joy of learning. Because you said something in your last sentence that it's about the learning of every individual that matters. And
Yep.
that's why we are here. So if you look at here, Gurdeep, thank you. And Manisha, thank you for all the blog posts you facilitated. It's been a fantastic week, one of our best harvests this Basant. So I know it was Basant very recently. So there's great blossom here of posts. Do read them. Over to you, Gurdeep. Kindly share the chapter.
Yes, sir, I have shared.
Okay.
I think it's visible.
Yeah. No, I'll stop screen share. Then we'll come. Yeah. So Naga, would you like to start or would you like me?
Yeah. I start.
It's easy to read from the screen. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Hi, everyone. Today's chapter is Cambridge Chronicles. If life at Doon was idyll, Cambridge would be the cradle of Shomie's future calling. The few years that he would spend here would go a long way in shaping his ideas about education and teaching, and more importantly, the teacher's unstated role as career guide and counselor. Away from the university and the necessary tutorials it offered, there would be other learnings too that Shomie would pick up over these 3 years. All valuable life experiences that would broaden his worldview and which may not have been possible in a less flexible academic system. Shomie acknowledges that when he talks about his days at Cambridge, where he studied physics, physical chemistry, and metallurgy as his main subjects, I studied for a natural science. I just can't see that sentence, so just a minute. Yeah, natural science degree, and could have done it in 2 years, but took 3 years instead. And because I took 3 years, I had an easier time studying. On the other hand, I had a good time learning.
Wait, Naga, let's pause here. You have used a very good thing here, studying and learning. And as you work so closely with Shomie, why does he use two words, studying and learning?
See, learning is something that actually goes inside of you. Studying is an activity. There is, you can say, studying leads to learning, but not always.
So that's an important thing to understand. So I think a good message for our teachers is this, that we often focus on studying. And this perhaps is the crucial challenge we face today, where it's always learning to the prime. So I'll read a paragraph and then we'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
In a few words, Shomie had effectively summed up the concept of learning that he would eventually put into practice later as a teacher, headmaster, and principal. That education was essentially a comprehensive process and not merely a race defined by the score sheet. Even better, if that process helped bring low on esteem underdogs out of their kennels of self doubt. But Cambridge also ensured that while students had enough freedom, academic or otherwise, by the time they graduated, they had learned what they had primarily come for. You know, NP, in Cambridge, the system was really extraordinary. For everyone, NP is right here. So NP means Naga Prasada. You know him as Naga Tummala. So now I'm trying to be Shomie and he's trying to be the Naga on the other side. You know, NP in Cambridge, the system was really extraordinary. He told me one afternoon as we chatted over a cup of coffee. You have your cup of coffee today, Naga?
Yes, just now.
Lovely. I am done with dinner, so I'm ahead of you in time. On the same subject, you may have three professors who would give lectures. You would be asked by a tutor to attend a particular lecture. So you went, to whichever lecture you wanted to. There was no system of marking attendance for these lectures. You went or you didn't go. So sometimes we would skip early morning lectures. It didn't matter at all. What was rigorously followed was a system of allotting supervisors. We were allotted a supervisor in each subject, and the supervisor would give us work to do. We had to spend 1 hour every week with the supervisor who sat with students one to one or one to two and went through the work the student or students had submitted. This was a unique system. Very few universities offer that kind of one to one learning. Then they were the Nobel Prize winners Shomie got to interact with. Can you imagine a Nobel laureate willing to spend 1 hour with me? Shomie would recall. I could feel his excitement. Nearly 70 years on, he still hadn't got over the sense of wonder. So, two things come to my mind here, Naga. You have given this excellent example of supervisors. Were you able to implement this when you were doing the design of learning system at the Oak Ridge?
It was not that way, Sandeep. But before Oak Ridge, at Vikas, we used to have um, that kind of 1 to 10 supervisor
Okay.
for students because they were in boarding.
Mhm.
Whereas in Oak Ridge, it was not boarding.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
was,
absolutely. That's the challenge. I agree with
yeah,
you. So similarly, when I go back to Doon School, we had this tutorial group, tute group, which
yeah,
Shomi may have mentioned to you that beyond the class teacher and the housemaster, we all had a tutor who used to meet us once a week. And tutor would
yeah.
have a group of 9, 10 of us from one particular boarding house. And then this would happen. And this, I think, is a very interesting legacy which we have got from the boarding system. Do you think it is feasible to do this today when we have day schools coming up from morning to evening? Do you think this is an example which they could incorporate a tutorial system?
This is quite possible. In fact, my son also went to Doon School, and I am quite familiar with the tutor system. Today, in fact, it is much more easy with AI tutor. This can be achieved far greater outcomes. That's what we are doing at CoSchool.
Oh, lovely. So at this point, would you like to share something more about CoSchool? Because there are a huge number of us, and we wonder what this CoSchool, and then you put an AI with it, which frightens us.
Yeah. So CoSchool is a learning platform for students through the schools where teachers, parents, and school leadership come together to help the student to learn without knowledge gaps. We have developed tutor, AI tutor by name Win as part of this solution, where this tutor is an extension to the teacher in the classroom and is an assistant to the teacher in the class, acts on behalf of the teacher and be there with the student 24 by 7 um, so that student can learn in private with the tutor as and when the student feels convenient and at one's pace. Typically for the students in classroom to ask a doubt, sometimes it is trivialized or there is no time. And sometimes they also are not confident to ask such so-called silly doubts. Hence, they remain with the doubts. Versus here, student can be very confident where there is nothing trivialized and no doubt is a silly doubt. As a result, by tomorrow, the student can go back to the class with a lot more clarity and confidence. That's what this system is all about.
So, which means that what you pick up from the tutorial system is actually happening in the new platform which you have created. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, I need Gurdeep. You have two tabs open. If you switch tabs on the other tab, the Teacher Academy tab in your browser, you can type coschool.ai. Yeah, in this tab, please type coschool.ai. Dot A, all together, no gaps. Yeah, here it's come right on top. So this is where Naga is now. This is what Naga's next story is. Naga, whom do you give the mentorship credit for this story?
This the my total learning with all the educators, though Shomie's influence is the highest on me, but over last more than 3 decades, I have worked with so many luminaries in education, and all that I have learned from them, and trying to implement what I have realized the structural limitations of the existing school system. How do you solve that problem? That is what made me think. And after our exit from Oak Ridge, when I got time and resources, I started working on it. And it is so happened the generative AI, which generally people know as ChatGPT, this has changed the whole paradigm of technology. This is for the first time humans can have conversation with a technology. And as we all agree, in education, in learning, conversation is must. Otherwise, all the previous technologies are monologue. Be it YouTube or be it Google or be it any previous apps. Versus here, students can happily have conversation. That's when they agree, they disagree, they debate, and finally they learn. That's what can happen. And everyone who was part of my journey have contributed to bring this out.
Absolutely brilliant. So, as we are talking of Nobel laureate and as we are talking of outside influence, let's go back to the chapter, Gurdeep. Let's go back to the chapter. So, two important elements which we have been talking right through the season and even today, trust and relationship. And tutor is really the epitome of trust and relationship. A tutor is far deeper than just the class teacher. Now, this only happens in a residential system. It can happen in a full day school. And like Naga perhaps said, I think this has a fairly deeper meaning in terms of pastoral care. But the good part today is the schools, which are regular day schools of 6 hours, they have realized this element. And lot many schools are trying to incorporate what best they can from the valuable life lessons. So we go on. Valuable life lessons. Shomie would get to pick up valuable life lessons too in the years he was at Cambridge. Experiences that would help him transition from a young adult into a mature individual at home in the world. A lot of his time was spent not just on learning about also in socializing. One of the great qualities of universities like Cambridge is that they have an enormous number of events and games, and you could take part in them. Shomie had the ability of getting along with people, and very soon he was invited to join some clubs. So, this is an interesting bit. If you look at the residential schools, and my friend Naga, he traveled to so many. This whole business of clubs and societies, I shouldn't be saying business, but whole passionate set of clubs and societies, that's true experiential learning. And if Shomya was around, he would have said that this is learning to learn, where you took onus of your own learning and you decided, okay, I need to explore. I was mentioning to someone the other day that every morning when I wake up at the crack of dawn at 5 a.m., people would think that's good time to pray, it's a good time to meditate, it's a good time for a morning run. I try and explore something new every morning. It could be an app, it could be a video, it could be some reading. It's something which I've been curious about, and when I slept last night, it didn't let me sleep. So that's what I drew at 5 a.m. every day. So as a teacher, I think it's important beyond the humdrum of life. If you want to be the best mentor, you must be lifelong learners. So every day, just pick up. I will satiate my curiosity. I will go deeper into one small thing. could be reading a chapter of a book, could be figuring out what a music raga is, could be trying to draw. Just make it simple. Try and learn one new thing every day, a simple message for today, which I thought my mentors did a great job on when I was growing up. One of these clubs was the Pagans, which played village cricket. Shomie and the others would go around the surrounding villages and play cricket with local folks. They would play in the village greens where they had daffodils growing and cows grazing. A perfect picture of the English countryside. Sometimes it would be the village blacksmith who would turn out for the local side. A lot of learning took place at these interactions, and it gave him a very good understanding of Britain and how it worked. Now, this paragraph, if you look back at the My Good School retreat, this is exactly what happens. So, Naga, we meet 3 times a year in physical form in what we call a retreat, a camp. And these retreats are normally 3 nights and 4 days. You are aware of the known school system of midterms. So, what we have done now that we have 25 schools who we work with, we ask every school to send 3 people or 4 people and a teacher, 4 students and a teacher, and we all meet in camp settings. So earlier we were doing it at the Fab India School in Rajasthan, but now we have moved to the Rajaji Sanctuary, where we have the Arthur Foot Academy. Now, at the Arthur Foot Academy, we will meet there. We have created a dorm there of 40 beds. So that's a ready-made dorm. So we don't pitch tents. There's a farmhouse there. So we all go stay in the farm. We work in the school. We play with the locals. So we do service, we do skill, we do sport, and we do study 4 days together. And on the last day, we go visit the Dul school. Because we are 40 kilometers from Dul school. So intentionally, when I went back to my roots, which is Dehradun, I thought, let's find a project near Dehradun. Because my last project for 10 years was way up in Rajasthan, which was 2,000 kilometers, 1,000 going, 1,000 coming. I did that for 10 years. So luckily, I now had respite, and now I said, okay, let me find something 40 kilometers away from where we are. So that's what we've adopted. So we host the retreat there. So our Teachers Academy and My Good School both are done in the retreat. So this village story here connected me with the My Good School retreat. He also got a chance to earn money and travel. I worked during the Christmas holidays, once as a postman's assistant in Holborn, in London. In those days, there would be a huge amount of mail, and so they hired students. We had to sort the letters, carry them, follow the postman, put the letters in the cubby holes. I earned quite a lot of money, and in the earnings, we would go to a pub in London. It was fascinating to hear him talk, and it was amazing that he still remembered these experiences. You have an incredible memory, Shomie, I told him during a pause in the conversation. It's the quality of experience, NP. He replied, fortunately for me, it was positive experience. He paused before coming up with a question. Do you want to hear about the time I worked as a lumberjack? Now that this was a surprise. With his twinkling eyes and diminutive frame, Shomie isn't someone you would normally associate with the profession of a lumberjack. Shomie must have sensed that I was thinking, Naga, you are talking of a diminutive frame. I have seen Shomie 45 years back. It's just at school days. And Shomie was a tough guy, let me tell you. I mean, and if you read Shomie's life and if you read about that story where they got lost in Sanar and how tough he was with the students, I'm sure this man was nothing more than Ernest Hemingway. So if you read, he reminds me of Ernest Hemingway. And if you read Hemingway's book, you see how tough Hemingway is, how he navigates life. And to me, that is this image of a teacher. So Shomie not only has the diminutive frame of a wise old man, if I dare say that, but More than anything else, there's something I'm sure Naga inside him where his heart and mind have a steely resolve. Did you experience that?
I think yes, but I'm not. I can't say confidently.
You know, what you mentioned in your shaping up of the institution, and like he remembers so much vividly, and then how he worked his tough life through London, where he became a postman. And as we are reading the book, we also read about the story about his opening an account and always being in debt as a teacher in later days. So he had lived a life of experiential learning. He lived a hard life. He did these jobs like many students do. He did so much more than many of us would get to do in the current learning system. NP, you don't believe me? But I actually worked as a lumberjack in Sweden. He laughed. There was a Sri Lankan by the name of Gamini Gonsena, who later went on to play the Sri Lanka and then became an ambassador. He asked me to go to Sweden with him. He said there was a job. The job was to cut trees, but not with mechanized tools. I asked a Pakistani friend, Tariq Hussain, to accompany me. They paid us by the number of trees we cut. On the first day, our hands bled and there were blisters. And I think we just cut half a tree. So we went to the owner of this teak forest company and told him we were students, not like the tough fellows, used to cutting trees. The owner said he did not want us to cut trees, but prune the saplings and trim the trees. We got paid pound five for a day's work, which was a big amount in those days. At the end of 1 month, I had pound 1500. Then took a train and went to Vienna and other places and had good fun. That was one interesting trip I did as a student. Car, Calais, and Clink. Shomie was having the time of his life. He was in his early 20s and enjoying the freedom of life offered, but it wasn't always smooth. One day, Shomie was in a pub where he met two Irish boys from Trinity College in Dublin. They got talking and by the end of the evening had decided that they should not part company. But is it possible to make friends so easily? I asked. Everything's possible when you are young, Shomi replied, before narrating another of his many experiences. They asked what I was doing the next morning, and I said I was going to Spain. They said they would like to join. I told them I would take my car, although I did not have one. Typical of Shomi. So the next day, I bought a car for pound 25. And 10 days later, we piled into this car and chugged along. We crossed the channel and reached Calais. That was the time Britain and France had landed troops along the Suez Canal, which Egypt had nationalized. I had reached Calais with my passport, but without a visa for France. The French authorities decided that I might be a spy, and they put me in the clink. I had my friends with me, and after 24 hours, I rang the Indian High Commissioner in the UK, where Vijayalakshmi Pandit was our High Commissioner. Her nephews were my friends in Cambridge. The French authorities let me go out, but said I had to get out of France in 48 hours. So we drove in this ramshackle car all the way to Paris and got stuck. We stayed there for 10 days. Then we decided we better go to Spain and I drove all the way to Bordeaux. This is about 800 kilometers from Calais. We were, of course, stopped there, but were finally allowed to leave. A short aside, I've had the association with Vijayalakshmi Pandit. She treated my father as a son. And she was indeed a wonderful person, an ambassador. And more than an ambassador, she was the first lady to go to UN from India. And yes, she was Panditji's sister. And Vijayalakshmi Pandit was very clear about one thing. She never compromised on her value system, which was something very interesting. a very well-read person, very compassionate person. You may want to read her autobiography. It's still available. If you need a copy, let me know. I'd be happy to arrange one for you. These were some of the experiences I picked up in my student days, which taught me so much about life, about meeting people of other nationalities, about earning my own money, seeing beautiful cities like Vienna, Cologne, Paris, and Barcelona. What fun we had! These are really my Cambridge experiences. I learned a great deal as a student, but how to live with very little money and survive, and how to make friends. I learned to be a lumberjack and a postman. These are invaluable experiences students should have. This once quote of Shomie has so much learning. If you read it thoroughly, it has experiences, it has travel, it has the way you got to balance your monies, it has invaluable life experiences, and you will really appreciate how the story has been put together. This is really very well done, Naga. I mean, I must say, it sounds so real. How did you manage to write so well, Naga? How did you manage to
Thank
record all this?
It was almost 3 years of effort. I feel still so it's a divine work. Otherwise, the book is released and Shomie just read it and left the world. It is still I feel overwhelmed.
Yeah. I'm sure Shomi carried a copy of the book along with him.
Could be.
100% he carried a copy of the book with him. There's no way he could have gone without this book.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's absolutely brilliant. The point Shomi was trying to make was that learning comes from exposure and everyday experiences. So this is the key. So when you talked earlier about CoSchool AI, and you mentioned so much about experiences and learning. So today, are we in a position in the school system that we are giving due regard to learning and experience?
Depending upon the school, what kind of resources and what kind of aspirations it is trying to um, fulfill.
That unless one steps out into the big, wide world, their education would be incomplete. Cambridge afforded him that freedom, but made sure he utilized it with responsibility. So this is the key. I think when you work with him in the Oak Ridge project, this freedom with responsibility, because when I get down to write a simple sentence as to what is education, it's simply freedom with responsibility. What would
Yep.
one of his highest takeaways from the university days? So, do you think this freedom with responsibility is pure education?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm glad
Yeah.
we agree on this statement because I say
Yeah.
this day and night. Education is nothing but freedom with responsibility. That would be one of the biggest takeaways from his university days. For Shomi, Cambridge, one of the greatest learning experience that he had. Did you face any racism? I asked him once. Never, he said. It was a liberal pace, and I even remember taking part in demonstrations against the government over the Suez crisis. Many of us thought the invasion was wrong, so we took out processions. The world has
Those were
changed, Naga. This can't happen today so easily.
that's exactly I was about to say. Those were liberal days gone.
Yeah,
Now, dare not participate in any open.
absolutely. So, I mean, are we in a world where freedom with responsibility is losing meaning? My
Um,
question to you.
Responsibility is still there, but the necessary freedom is definitely missing in this rightist governments and more towards autocratic leaders. This is the global phenomena.
Yeah,
We
absolutely. I
can't.
mean, you start from Erdogan to US to you go everywhere. I mean, as we are getting powerful leaders whom we look to build the machoistic images of nations. And every nation wants to become nuclear, wants to have a strong leader. So this is a universal phenomenon. It's not really got to do anything with the country. And it's only these leaders who are able to assert themselves, are being able to stand the winds and the sails of time. Generations at Cambridge. Cambridge had started attracting Indian students towards the closing decades of the 19th century. One of those who crossed the seas was Shomie's great uncle, a brother of his paternal grandfather. The next to set sail was Shomie's father. Shomie was the third from the wider family, followed by his daughter. And today, his daughter's son is also in the same university, making it 5 generations at Cambridge. We all went to the same college in Cambridge for 4 successive generations. Another thing that I must mention is that my college, Emmanuel, really fostered a respect for history in me, even that of family. Can you believe that they gave me the same room that my father had lived in, which was the same as the one my grandfather had stayed in as well? The whole idea of Cambridge was the students were there to seek knowledge and to do research. Now, this is the essence of education. You seek knowledge and you think, you research. And this for teachers is very important. If you're a teacher, you have to seek knowledge and do research. That's why we keep saying reading, reflection. Please share reflections with us. It's very important. Whether you comment below the post or you write to us or you send us a blog post, video, podcast, please do your research. Believe me, I mean, your future, it's existentially crisis. We've lived our lives. You as teachers, remember me, if you are today in your 30s and 40s, if you're not going to do your research, if you're not going to write, if you're not going to do deep thinking, it's going to be tough for you ahead, because my friend Naga has made CoSchool AI, and maybe that tutor will challenge you. Your students may develop an empathy with that tutor. You have an upper hand. They trust you. Don't let that trust go. Please do your research, do your writing, seek knowledge, be a seeker of knowledge. That's a true teacher. Some of the world's most famous scientists grew out of that system. Among them, James Clerk Maxwell and Isaac Newton. Shomie's eyes had an animated sparkle. It seemed he had gone back to his Cambridge days and its ambience of deep learning. It was the same pull that had many centuries ago attracted students to the university, where scholars from Oxford had migrated in the early years of the 13th century following a dispute with local townsfolk. I think we all wanted to go to Cambridge, so we applied to a college that we knew, and they also admitted us. The education in Cambridge was open ended in what you didn't have to go to lectures. You didn't have monthly exams. We had an exam at the end of the year. That was the only exam you ever wrote. In between, you constantly wrote papers, got them corrected, and had professors talk to you about ideas and things. That was taking place. The result was I got interested in radio astronomy. So now the physics and Shomie is coming up. It was in this environment of learning exploration that Shomie began his final year at Cambridge. In the final year, every student had a tutor. The tutor would ask the student that he or she wanted to do, and then arrange meetings with the appointment boards, sort of like today's placement cell. I told my tutor I wanted to be a research scientist, but the leap from a student to research scientist would not happen in Shomie's case. Life had other plans for him. My tutor nodded his head and said it was not a bad idea, Shomie recalled. But he also told me I would not shake the world of science. And that was a great comment, which went deep into my soul. To me, it meant that while I would not shake the world of science, I was capable of shaking the world in something else. So I lowered my sights. I had already thought of being a teacher and decided to go into school teaching, but not to just any school. See, this is the making of Shomie as a teacher. Her tutor's comments had changed the course of the young man's life. A day would come when this young man too would mold lives, but with greater sensitivity. After Cambridge, Shomie's next destination would be Gordonston in Scotland, which would mark the beginning of his journey as an educator and mentor. Would you like to put a bookmark on the next chapter? Yeah, just flip over, Gurdeep, flip over and put it here. Put it here on page 16. Thanks. So, Naga, we do this every week. We celebrate every chapter we read. Gurdeep, would you like to share the reflection on teacher happy teachers? You have the reflection up there. Go up and refresh the page, home page. Yeah, go to home. Yeah, click here. No, you haven't refreshed the page. Please go to home. Click on the top banner, the Teachers Academy banner. When you click, yeah, here we are. So this happens every week, Naga. So this is chapter 15. And this post goes out at about 6:15 p.m. when we're reading the chapter. We've actually prepared this post because we've read the chapters before. So we leave behind something to reflect here. And the reflections today, Naga, if I may ask you if there are questions good that make you think. So reflections for today's chapter, chapter 15, Cambridge Chronicles. Question 1. In case you feel you want to write about the comment right now, you have 5-10 minutes. You can write when I'm talking. You can open this on a separate browser in your computer. And Gurdeep, could you show the comment box below? There's a comment box below. I suggest that when you put a comment, don't use anonymous. You're welcome to use anonymous. We love that. We don't. Please write some. Please don't use anonymous when you comment. And in case you end up using anonymous by default, write your name and school so that we can reach out to you for our mentorship programs. So this is how Naga we do it. And if you scroll up, Gurdeep, so we have a little introduction about you, that you visited us. Now this is the little story which we put for everyone to understand and remember today's day. Scroll up, Gurdeep, and I'll do the questions, please. So question 1 for today's reflection. Many school systems focus on structured curricula, leaving little room for real-world learning. How can we balance academic rigor with experiential learning to provide a holistic education? Do you like this question, Naga?
Yeah. Again, I bring a CoSchool here. All the while, teachers' main role was to teach in the classroom. The basic academic conceptual explanation itself was taking so much of teachers' time. As a result, the school working hours and other constraints were not allowing teachers to focus on activities and experiential learning. Now, with the generative AI tools are there, academic learning can happen much better at home, at the student's doorstep. That leaves teachers so much of room and scope to use the time to get into experiential learning and bringing real life experiences. This is typically called flipped classroom. What hitherto used to happen in classroom is expected to take place at home, and what student was expected to do at home, like homework or other project works, students in teacher's presence can end up doing in classroom.
Brilliant. So Naga, question 2. A student in your class often becomes discouraged when facing setbacks, seeing them as failures rather than learning opportunities. Inspired by Shomie's resilience when confronted with challenges, such as being mistaken for a spy, how would you guide this student to develop a growth mindset and view obstacles as stepping stones to success? So Naga, at this point, I want to mention this is a very interesting question. And as of now, we are working closely with Dr. Manu Kapoor, who heads the ETH Center in Singapore. And that's why I'm here, by the way. So I have met him, and he has done a book called Productive Failure. So that's the next book which we are bringing in after Shomie's book. It's called Productive Failure. And Manu Kapoor has spent his life on using productive failure, because what he explains with children and teachers is that productive failure, when designed well, offers fantastic learning.
Good.
So I think this question and that thought were together. We will come to you in question 3 now. Get ready.
Yeah.
Shomie fondly recalls one-to-one interactions with supervisors and Nobel laureates. How can we as teachers foster more meaningful mentor-mentee relationships with our students to support their academic and personal growth? I think in this session today, when we conversed ahead, we have reflected on this. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, so the moment when the student feels secure and feels not being judged, whenever the student faces any challenge, seeks teachers time, that itself is an indication that that student is trusting you. So how many students are trusting you when they are going through the challenge is a measure for any teacher how well they are actually uh, uh, doing their job.
So, Naga, I have a question to you. You mentioned about what you're offering as a tutor, a virtual tutor. Is that right? If I may call that.
Yeah.
So now, how can our teachers who have 50 students in a normal school effectively connect with your virtual tutor? Can the teacher also connect with the virtual tutor to fill up the child's learning gap?
Today, the school has to subscribe and offer to their teachers. That is how it is structured. However, we have a free AI assistant that is available for teacher, at least on certain of their lesson planning and other responsibilities. They can refer to it and it takes some advantage. It is not the full experience that if their respective schools subscribe to it and offer it to their teachers.
Okay, so you're talking of a platform, and my question to you is something different. See, if you look back to the day when your child was in Doon school, the tutor and the class teacher connected whenever they felt that the child needed an extensive support. So, is that possible using CoSchool AI?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can the teacher and the tutor connect and help that one child? Is your tutor an AI tutor, or is it some human beings behind?
No, it is completely a tutor. This tutor can help the students at an academic front, but not non-academic areas. Non-academic areas, still the teacher and the parent. Here in this case, what happens is teacher and parent are connected. So they don't need another tutor requirement on non-academic front. The parent, if are nudged or guided by the teacher, parent can do that non-academic support. And the academic support comes from the AI tutor.
Perfect. So what that really means is when we talk of the LLMs today, or when we talk generative AI today, we're essentially satisfying the deep knowledge seekers.
Yeah.
And I always tell the teachers that you have to be deep knowledge seekers. If you are deep knowledge seekers, your students will become deep knowledge seekers. Students learn more with the environment. Students learn more with observation. So teachers get set, get into the AI world, encourage yourself to explore. If your students were given opportunities to step outside the classroom for hands on learning, what specific real world tasks or internship would you introduce to help them develop independence, problem solving skills, and adaptability? Naga, I may want to add that we do this beautifully at my good school, where we have programs like Youth Engaging Society, internships, fellowships. Our students make podcasts together on our platform. Teachers make YouTube videos. We publish a newsletter. Whatever we can do virtually in a school, we do that. And that's where we find students really love these challenges because, like I said, they get free canvases to draw. And the
Yep.
beautiful part, when they will connect with your AI tutor, there will be no inhibitions or curtains which are drawn when we are actually connecting with the people whom we work with in regular environment. So what we find, let's say on Sunday, when Jugjeev sir and me go to Sunday school, students connect with us without fear, without inhibitions. And that's
Yeah,
where pure learning happens. What do you say?
absolutely. And for teachers to have these ideas of what kind of tasks they can give to students, they can immediately go to CoSchool.ai, where there is an AI assistant. They can, it is free, it is open. They just, teachers can use and figure it out.
There's a question before we close from Ila Gautam. She's from the Century School in Panipat. Do you keep a watch on the activities through your AI tools? Question one.
Absolutely. The teacher, every teacher has every control what the student is doing, and teacher only assigns tasks and teacher knows which student did what.
Lovely. So she follows up by saying, how much are the students learning? Do you have any
So
yardstick, experiment, measure?
that's exactly our clear measure is the class average has to move the needle at least by 10% within 3 months of its usage.
So I hope, Ila, that answers your question. And then she follows by saying, is are they using it or not? Now, what is the usage of the platform? I'm sure you can give us some. How many?
That's
Let's say 100 people sign up. How many end up using it regularly?
it is because the teacher has is in control. If teacher in classroom is assigning homework, how many students she is able to make them complete the homework. If 100% of the students are completing in her class the homework, that means they are completing here also. It is the teacher and her influence on the students matter.
Brilliant. I think, like you talked about, Shomie the teacher, and in the entire chapter is teacher's influence that matters. And I'm
Yeah.
glad you are able to translate that into your learning model, which we are creating. Thank you so much for being with us. We just hope you enjoyed this session as much as we enjoyed having you with us. On that note, I
Thank
want
you.
to hand over to Gurdeep. Would you want to say anything, Naga? And then Gurdeep will come
So
in.
I felt so happy for able to join this session, and thank you very much, Sandeep, for giving me this opportunity.
Most welcome, Naga. And if you anytime feel at your end, if some CoSchool people would like to join, they can just sign up for the webinar. We have
Sure.
space for 500. We are more than happy to have them join if they want to come and do some research, take some content from here, add something of what we have done. We have like 15 lakh blog views. So I'm sure you'll find some content there which your AI engines can use. Feel free. We are there with you and we want to
So
strengthen your hand. We want you to become stronger so that AI core school becomes stronger.
thank you. Thank you very much, Sandeep.
Over to you, Gurdeep.
Yeah, thank you, Naga sir and Sandeep sir, for sharing your invaluable insights. And I would say by attending masterclass session every week as an educator, we feel more empowered. Like a lot of learning is happening. And today's session, especially today's session, the whole session was very enriching for us, for all of us.
Yeah, Gurdeep, before we go to the question, someone's asking, how do you get link for this? Oh, it's very easy. Just register for the webinar. And registering for the webinar, you will find the link all over the place. Is there on LinkedIn? Is there on Facebook? So, Naga, just before we go, we have used social media for social good. So I'm sure you have felt that. And you have seen that in our social media, they're never forwards, they're never shares. It's pure, simple knowledge seekers. And thank you so much, Gurdeep, for those good words. And on that note, let's give 3 cheers for Naga and look forward to his next book.
Wow.
Shomie is watching. Shomie is watching. And your mentor will not be happy if you don't write the next book and then say, Naga, the man who made the world.
Let's hope. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Brilliant. It's been a wonderful hour. God bless everybody. Help me to
Thank
be
you.
good. So hope to see you all more often. Best of luck. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.